Well, Unity is still loading. Something I like a lot more about Godot than Unity. Does not take a million years to load. But why don't we get started? And actually, where have I put this other window? While that's loading up, why don't we take a little look over at this is not Unity here, this is Godot, because I still had this open from before, but that's not actually the game I wanted. Well, this is the game I was working on in the previous stream. Just save everything here. Quit the project, that sounds good. So I was messing around with a different game. I must have just opened that in another instance without there we are, without thinking too much about it. This one. Let's see how that goes. I'll just need a moment to finish loading up. What? I don't know. Well, now I've got Unity and Godot open at the same time. So there's a bit of resource contention going on, I think. All right. So here is the other game. And so this is something I was just working on. I'll leave those colliders visible for the moment. I think. No, I won't. That's what I had visible colliders on before. But here we go. I've just got the walk. It's just called Walking Wizard game at the moment. And each of these creatures have names, and he says hello to them. That one's called Frost. This one's called Flutter. No, it's not. Sorry, that's River there. Flutter can reach the sky. If I make that bigger, is that going to work? Flutter can fly, so it's gone off into the distance. Anyway, that was fun. Just did that with a few colliders and things. So if I close this and visible collision shapes, you have to restart the game for visible collision shapes to work, I think. So he's basically just got this shape in front of him. I flip it to the other side, the same as the sprite. And then if that collides with one of these creatures, it looks up the name on the creature. Yeah, not a very gamey game, but just playing around with some really basic mechanics. All right, let's get out of this and get into Unity here. Let's try that. Is that going to work okay? Let's go with this. And so I took a little break for a week and a bit there. What is with my connection? Super slow. I haven't got something open I shouldn't, have I? Just see here if I've got something that's hogging network. Only OBS. Okay. Just a slow connection. Looks like I'm dropping half my frames, so that's not very nice. Well, I hope that's not affecting things too much. I'm not sure if that's on the What am I going to open here? Routine graph. Here we go. So just wanted to open a script just to get Visual Studio opening up. So I do really like in Godot the integration of the scripting environment with the development environment. Seems pretty good. I haven't done anything to play around with like window positions, that sort of thing, to figure out what it's capable of. But yeah, so far that's been a really nice streamlined experience. So I haven't tried to do anything too serious with Godot, but the experience so far has been good. I'm certainly keen to give it a try with an appropriate game. Okay, so I've got the game running here. I've got these. So this is what I was working on essentially. I've got a start node, can plug it into others, and it's starting to look not like super polished, but at least looking a bit like closer to what I would want it to. Well, let's say A is the check. Some kind of check, and this is just making a theoretical routine. So that's just a label that you can then navigate to at the end of something. So yeah, if our HP is so that'll be equal to 50, less than 50, greater than 50. Then if it's less than 50, then we'll just walk and go back to A. And if it's equal to 50, if it's greater than or equal to 50, then we'll check for an enemy. And that's basically all that's happening here. These two would automatically go back to start, just because of how that works. Yeah, okay. So if there's no enemy, then we just do that. Which kind of means that's, yeah, it's a weird one, but that's the basic idea for how those should work. And I think I had a list of nodes. So I might grab myself a new browser window. Oh, I just decided to go over here. I'll just put it over there. And see if I can find my list of things that I want to do. I need to have that integrated into the thing. I think I've got the wrong profile open here. Some random things I was looking at for fun, for reference. Just move that out of the way. Ah, there we go, yeah. Works much better when I get the right profile open. I'll just need a moment to load. But I think I've done most of my node types here. So I've got the start, and I've got the label and the go-to. I've got the action. I've got the simple decision node and a threshold decision node. So a decision node that would be for a particular value, and you can set the threshold for that value. So, okay, now I've got this. Then yes, there we go. Got that up. I set this to a different font, and the font that I had it set on was from when I had a paid subscription, and I was not able to set it back. This probably isn't the best font to stream with, though, so I shall have to sort that out later. Let's see, UI behavior for nodes. Just trying to make sense of my notes from before, because I don't always keep them the most organized. Like just the time to stop and just get all the notes organized, that's not time that I naturally take. Right, so I've got these data model related stuff for what I'll need. But yeah, I think this here might be what I was working on. And if I just show completed. There it is. Nope, nothing there. Nope. Current task, there's a lot of completed stuff in current task. Here we go. So that's what I was doing. Implementing the nodes. Okay, so I've got the UI for the node type, so I haven't got the UI behavior. What do I mean by that exactly? I wonder. Anyway, so I've got action, simple decision, label, go to, and threshold decision. So I've got all of those. So yes, I'll hide completed now. And just realized I think over here I should change this. There. So just change that up there to okay, and current task. I'm just going to put node graph routine editor because I'm not completely sure what aspect of that I'm focusing on right now, because I haven't quite figured it out. Because I think it all looks how it needs to look. So I think I'm going to need some a few elements here. I'm going to need a way to take this and represent it. So I guess that's probably the data model for the routine that I'll be working on. So so that's here. We've got so we need outputs. So basically each type of node will have a certain number of outputs. It'll be 0 for go to, and then so 1, 2, or 3 for the others. So there's that. Then we've got a, yeah, we'll definitely need the node type. And yeah, we've got all this stuff about how to represent those. And then metadata varies by type. Action type, that's just going to be which of those, I guess. Oh yeah, where they're actually getting their signal from. So that's for the sensors. Like the example, this one here says HP, so it's hit points. There's one here that says enemy, so it'd be whether an enemy is detected, that kind of thing. Now, oh yeah, interesting actually, because there's like sensors. So that's actually a part that's attached to the robot. We've got internal states like hit points. Is there any other kind? So I think like, oh, this needs to be scrolled down, does it? It can't be scrolled down. Let me make it. Oh, that's not the right thing to do. All right. Now we'll be able to scroll down, won't we? Yeah, so internal state could be things like the hit points. It could be like time alive, like how long since spawn. Trying to think whether there's actually anything else at the moment that they could do. Do they have any other internal state? Let's have a look. There's a robot. That is not how to open a thing. That is for VS Code. Let's just have a look in scripts and grab robot. Did I grab that? Yes, it has opened. All right, so what kind of state do we have on these things? We've got an animator and a routine and stuff. These enemies not going to be relevant because they either are or they aren't. It's not something that's going to change. Okay, editable, that's just because you can't change their routines. But yeah, what have they got going on? So they've got which step of the routine they're on, but that's not really a useful sensor. Also, that'll have to change. Okay, we've got some mount points, an array of parts. Yeah. Destroyed parts, destroyed or intact parts. So that could be something where they change their behavior if they have a certain number of parts intact still, or something like that. Yeah. So that's pretty much. They don't have a lot of internal state going on at the moment. They'll have things like battery level, maybe at some point. So anything that's just specific to that type of bot, it's not going to make a lot of sense to have something in the routine that changes. If like within a single bot, it's not going to change. I guess unless the routine's reusable across different bot types, and then you could say, yeah, if you've got a laser, fire it. Otherwise, do this other thing. That might allow a routine to be reused for a few different types of bots. But no, I don't want to think too far through that and get too caught up on it. Anyway, so yeah, that's a few different types of signals. There's going to be a sensor and which type. So different types of sensors. There'll probably be an enum of sensor types, so I think. Yeah, so the value for threshold selectors for labels and go-tos. They'll need to have whatever the ID of the label is. Although the other option with those would be not to have that at all and just have them have a hidden connection going from the go-to to the label. And that way then it just kind of functions the same as everything else in how it follows the routine. But you just don't see that it's hooked up that way. And that would mean that they wouldn't need to there wouldn't need to be an ID for the label, but we still would need to display something on the label and display the same thing on the go-to. So I guess, yeah, keeping the ID for the label is good. And coordinates in the editor, definitely want that. And what have we got here? Do this one. So a single root node, which is the start label. And then everything else connected to that. Yeah, interesting. So basically, I'll need a way to create nodes for this graph. So let me jump over here. I'm going to need a way to create nodes for this graph. And you'll just have a start node and won't be able to create those, but then all of the others you'll be able to create. Just going to get these sleeves up a bit. And what's available will depend on what parts you have, since if you don't have an enemy sensor, for example, then there's no point in having an enemy sensor node. But okay, we did a lot of talking and not a lot of getting started with that. So yeah, I might make the data model for the routine. So we're looking at the routine graph, and I've got my node prefabs, node scripts. What have I got in these so far? Okay, so for routine node UI, I've got a label and the text. So does that mean if I go and have a look at routine graph editor? Yeah, so there's my routine graph. I've got my start node. That's just graph node, which is from our library. Action node, decision node. Okay, so there's a threshold node UI. So I've got a label I can set on that. Oh yeah, so setting up the range and everything for that. But this says label hit points. So it just has a label that I can set, okay. Now why have I made this? When it's just a mono behavior that sets a label on its text initially. That's my input drop target. Okay, got Apple connector. Trackable icon. I got my connection from a library. There's a robot. That's the threshold node. So I think that's doing the same thing. We've got text. Okay, so that inherits from that. So that's just a general one of those. So that doesn't seem to be necessarily doing anything. There's value change check. Is that actually hooked up? There's the slider. Yeah, so it's hooked up to this value change check, which will round that slider to a int value. And that's setting that into this property, which will mean it will set its internal value and update the display to update that text. All right, well, I'm going to make a new script here. This will be for so routine node. All right. So this is not going to be a mono behavior. So this just represents that I have too many pens in my way. That's not really it. I just had too many pens in my way. I've done almost nothing to reduce my pile of sticky notes and pens. Somehow I've also managed to add a peg there, a clothes peg. Not sure what that's there for. Oh, this kind of feels just gross and bad. I'm just comparing it to building stuff in Godot, but I need to be careful because I know part of that is just because putting something together quickly from a tutorial is much less tedious than sort of building up something, designing it from scratch. So that's the situation I'm in now. Anyway, so this is a savable representation of a node in a routine graph. Start node is the root of the routine graph. And any outputs that are not connected will implicitly go to the start node. Alrighty, so since this is not a mono behavior, we don't want these, and we also don't want to end up with circular dependencies. And here are some fantasy creatures. There's the wizard from the Walking Wizard game. But let me just open this one. I'm also going to maybe... Oh no, that magnifier can stay there. So yeah, this will do actually. So if we're talking about serializing something, what we don't want to do is have like this label here is sort of joined on around through to this goto, and this goto is joined onto that label effectively. And so that means you've got a cycle, which is not very good. So basically, when we're connecting something to an output connection, we can't have like this goto belong to, like be nested within this action or this action or this action, because which one would it go? Which one would it live under? And you could just make another goto for each of them, but they shouldn't need that. And it's also possible to have the same thing with multiple actions connecting to a different action, which I can probably show by just having multiple connections to a different action. Let's say here you start, and then if you see an enemy, you're going to do this walk action, and if you don't see an enemy, you'll do the walk action. So that can have multiple things connected to it. So we're going to end up with cycles quite easily when things link back, and also we're going to have something that is receiving input from multiple other nodes. And we have things that are giving output to multiple other nodes. So there's no sensible way to have these things sort of live within each other. So they just need to refer to each other. And when we're serializing, that might be a bit tricky if we had like a reference to the goto in each of these three actions. That would essentially, we've got three different references, then how do we make sure we don't serialize it three times? So that means I probably would want a different way to arrange these things. One way is just to have like each of the nodes stored in an array, for example, and then each of the connections between those nodes could just be stored in a different array. So it's just going which outputs are coming from, which input is it going to, but keeping in mind that like this node has 3 different outputs, so we can't just say from this node to that node. We would need to say from this node's friend output to this node. So that probably isn't a good way to handle it. But I think, yeah, if we just had all of these things, all these nodes in an array, and then all the connections could just refer to the array index of the other things, or they could be in a dictionary with some kind of unique ID, and then use the ID to refer to what's connected to where. And basically putting them in an array and using the index of the array, that's basically the same. It's just the ID happens to be an integer. That's for serializing, but so we can save it to disk at some point. We don't necessarily need that same representation when we're building the graph here. But yeah, I'm just thinking, like, if you have an array, where's my brush? Here. So, yeah, run some purple there. So I'll just draw it down here. Let's say I've got an array. Let's say we've got an array and we're actually drawing on the right layer. So we've got, let's say we had some nodes in there. And then like this node was saying, oh yeah, one of my connections goes to here. And I've got my other connection going to here. But then we delete the element at this index. So at index 1. And so then this moves up. Everything moves up. And now we've got this arrow pointing to what was here, and this other arrow, even worse, pointing to something that wasn't even connected to this before. So that's, I think, a nail in the coffin for just using an array index. And I mean, that's only if you actually delete things, but I guess if you come around, yeah, I think maybe a dictionary would be the way, with a unique ID of some sort. And I could just make an ID generator that goes with that. So I'll just use this metadata list to come up with what to do here. But I think I'll have a unique ID. That's in XML, interesting. What type is that going to be? I think I'll still use an integer. And then what I'll need is like a singleton some kind of singleton ID generator that'll just keep spitting out new IDs just at incrementing by 1 each time, for example. And so we've got action type. That's for when it's an action. So, yeah. What are my routine actions called? Robot actions. That looks like it might be it. That's an enum. It has all the actions, including malfunction. Got walk forward, shoot laser, turn left, turn right, block long. That looks like it's right. Signal. There we go, it's only for action nodes. This will be only for sensor nodes. Do I have something for sensor type? Have I made any sensors yet? So this is, if I just close that and open the blueprint editor, make sure I've got a factory selected. So this is where the sensors would go, and can't drop a legs on there. Yeah, wheelie legs. But yeah, I don't think I've made any sensors yet. That'll be something to do quite soon. Not today, but once I've got this represented. So only for sensor nodes, we're going to have a sensor type. That doesn't exist, so let's just slap an enum up here for the moment. And yeah, I guess we got enemy. What else? Oh, it's actually like signal. Signal type. So each sensor would have a signal type that it uses. So we got like sensor signals, and we also have like internal state signals. So this is where like you don't actually need a sensor to just detect your own hit points. Time alive, I'm not tracking that yet, but time since spawn. I'll call that time alive actually. It's a bit more terse. Battery level. Don't have batteries yet, but one day. Sensor signals, so we've got like enemy proximity. I don't know what sensors I'm going to have. I don't have a full list or anything. That'll come a bit later. Did I have any examples in here? Interesting. See, that was just kind of a made up without really thinking about it example. Oh, hello. The Unlegit Gamer HD, hey? I'm not doing this for Bracky's Game Jam. is Bracky's Game Jam on at the moment? I'm going to go camping, so well, there's a Bracky's video. I'm about to go camping for a bit, so I'm not going to do my weekend stream. So not a good time for me to do a game jam. Results is already finished. I need to open Chatty, so I'll get a sound. 3 days left. Yeah, no, I think I'll basically be packing for camping, and then I'll be camping. And by the time I'm finished camping, that'll be it. No more game jam time, so I'll have to miss this one. If I didn't have a full-time job, I could do all the game jams. That'd be fantastic. But I can't just quit that job because then, like, all the people who want food, I won't be able to feed them. I mean, I could grow stuff and feed them that, but then I wouldn't have any time to do game jams because I would be too busy gardening. But yeah, cool. It should be happy. I've got myself some drawing materials since I'm still kind of resting from a joint injury. I figure I can get a bunch of character, enemy, and environment design done. During my downtime. So that should be fun. Yeah. So where was I? I was looking for sensors here. I don't really need to put lots there. I can fill that in as I go. Just trying to get a bit of a representation there. So yeah, I'll call this signal type. And I need to get that in front. And yeah, this will be called threshold value, but it will be we're dealing with an int. Put that one. Yeah, I haven't done a lot of drawing for a while, which I guess just comes from working primarily with computers and being way too busy the rest of the time. I need to change that sound because it might be echoing back. Let me just change that to like that. There we go. And I should read this. A raccoon. How adorable. So yeah, I haven't been to this camping site before, so I'm interested to see what's there. I'm sure I can find plenty of reference material. I'm interested in just finding things that are inanimate. Trees, collections of rocks and moss, etc., and just find creatures in there, shapes of creatures, and then put them onto the page. I think that's we get some very interesting shapes, and probably a bit more variety of design than I would just come up with from my own brain. But change my focus again. All right, so got the threshold value, and yeah, label ID, which is a string, I guess. Yeah. I'll make that just a label ID that'll be specific to that label and any goto that goes to it. Oh yeah, and this unique ID can probably be displayed for debugging purposes. Okay. So that's part of it. So this is the metadata, I guess. But that's not all, because we don't just want metadata. We also want the node type. I don't know if I've already defined this. Well, one day I'll figure out how to spell. No, not how to. Yes, this just represents Xtistic is now following. Oh, thank you for following. I need to move this out of the way of that notification. Still getting used to all of the noises. At least I know where to look over in my preview there if I hear kind of a sound effect. There we go. I was just moving something out of the way. So we've got our routine node types, and that's action. So we've got simple decision, threshold decision. We've got go to and label. Probably the other way around. I think, do we want start to be its own type? It is just like a specialized label, but it is different from a label because it can't have something plugged into it. What else have I got? Actual, action, those two, that and that. Yeah, so that should be enough to choose the right prefab for them. All right, so really that stuff's going to be, that's going to be that ID. So yeah, this is basically all metadata. Now I could make a metadata, node metadata type to live in the node. GorillaMod, what do you need some help with? I can try. So like outputs. This could be an array, but But I think I've got a maximum of 3. So maybe just call them that. That is a strange thing for it to say. So when you try to open your Unity project, it says you need to open logs folder. -+. Can't say I've encountered that. So is that project just failing to load? It's not opening at all? Or is it opening and showing an error message or something else? If you're able to copy and paste what it says, that'd be handy as well. Oops, I asked too many questions, so I don't remember which thing you're saying yeah to. I do that with other people as well. Just like say both the options. So if they say yes, it's like don't know if it's meaning yes to the first thing or yes to the second thing, which is like no to the first thing. Oh, are you off? I mean, I can try and help if I just need a bit more info to find out what's happening. That's all. So yeah, if you put in chat, does the project open or not? Does it stop with a dialogue? And if it does, what words is it saying in there? And yeah, from there I might be able to give you a hand. Or is it, or yeah, is this an error that's showing up like in the console? Because yeah, we might be able to get to the bottom of it and figure out what's happened or happening with the outputs. So yeah, depending on the node type, I'll put that right at the top actually. And yeah, node type will do for a name. So I've got the type. Yeah, I don't want to edit it. I just wanted to highlight it. Got the type, got the outputs. If I ever need more than 3, I can just add another one. Got metadata. Oh yes, the position. And we don't need to track inputs because that'll just be recorded in the inputs. Let's give that vector 2. And that is just going to be like the I think I might given that the amount of space here might not quite match what's needed for representing a routine, it might be good to set it up so that this can zoom in and out and maybe sort of scroll around. So for that, it might mean I just give the position relative to the start node. But then if you drag the start node around, so yeah, I think maybe just the position on the routine editor canvas. And I'll figure out how that works at some point. But it might mean that essentially I draw the graph and then figure out what bounds I should use for the. This is when you're loading one up by selecting something that has a graph. Then figure out what bounds the space that they're displayed on should have, and do any zooming or what have you as appropriate. So I think that's all we need for a node. So how then will I represent a... I'm just going to have... This could probably be a struct. And then I think we could do a class. Would it need to be a class? Oh, turn it into a struct if I can later. Node routine node and node routine. So basically this is it just holds a routine made up of routine nodes that are connected together. Okay, so basically I'll need some kind of a list or array or something of nodes, and if I had a dictionary with the ID for lookup, that might be faster for some purposes. But I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to go with like an array, or maybe like a linked list. Destructs like arrays. Arrays in C#, I found it's to me awkward. Just compared with some other types. But I think that's just where a list comes in. I don't want to make that public, actually. So we got our list of nodes. I think I need to make these public since they're in the struct. Gotta make these public as well. And I just do this. just going to call that action singular. Might rename that at some point. Anyway, so I've got some nodes. That's basically about all there is to it. Oh. Is it all there is to it? Single root node. Everything else is connected to that. Initial routine might be a start. Detect enemy. Walk. Go to start. Okay. So if we make a constructor here, we could initialize the nodes and then just add a start node. Which we don't have yet. So what's the short way to instantiate a struct? C#, I'm sure there's a way. Struct initialize a list. Initializing a list. Let's see. Like that. So I think that might mean being able to do like that. And put in node type equals node type dot start. So we'll need a unique ID and a position. We won't need any outputs. It will have an output 1 at some point, but that's all. But I don't think it needs one to begin with. It doesn't need an action or a signal type or a threshold value or a label ID. Well, probably give it a label ID. Start. Just for fun. Yeah, it seems like a good routine node. So we basically start out with a start node in there. And, oh yeah, so it doesn't have a unique ID. The ID only needs to be unique within the within this particular routine, let's say we've got next ID equals 1. So I think we can do like a unique ID equals 0. That's node 0. Next ID equals 1. And then whenever we create a node, I think we can use capitals on that. Wait, do we want to actually have a function to create a node, or maybe we just want get and generate, so generate our unique ID. I need to give that a body, otherwise what's the point of it? So the ID is going to be equal to next ID. I'll increment the next ID so that the next time we do it, it'll get the right ID. There we go. So every time that's called, it'll give a new unique ID. So I could call that here, but I won't. And I'm not sure what the implications are off the top of my head of if I did call that as in the constructor. So there we go. So now we've got something that'll create a routine that's basically empty. And we've got that private list of nodes. It's private right now. So what else am I going to want to do to manipulate it? Essentially, whenever any of these actions happen, moving one of these around, connecting something, disconnecting something, connecting it to somewhere else, like disconnecting from there and dropping it back there. That, and then like adjusting values and whatever I do to create these in the first place. All of that is going to need to be supported here. So I guess we need to add nodes, add connections, remove connections, move nodes, adjust threshold. Yeah, maybe that. Okay. So that's not called. Anyway, so this is the functionality. Yeah, so I guess adding a node. Basically make a node and then add it. That should be pretty easy. I'll hit tab to get the suggestion there, but I'll need to do something first. I've got a new ID, which is generate unique ID. So now we've got our ID. And then we'll add the node in there. So if I was going to store the node in a dictionary against this ID, that's where I would do that as well. But we'll try an array for now. See if that's well, it's not an array exactly, it's a list. But something that could be converted easily into an array. Cool. So should I just press? Okay. So add connections. So adding or removing connections, moving nodes, and adjusting the threshold are all basically the same thing. We just want to update a node. So give it a node. And so yeah, basically you would just need to get the node, update it with whatever you need to, any of this stuff, and then just save it again. So call update with it. So basically, I'll probably inline this later, but basically we've got that ID that we're looking for. And can we find? I got a feeling that's going to bring in link. Yeah, that looks good. That suggestion. Don't want to call it node. But is that what I actually want to do? Okay, insert. I'm not sure I even need to do this. It's because we're passing structs around. So I think that means it's passed by value. So if I were to get that and update it, it's not necessarily going to save the updated value into the thing. So let's have a look. Markland Fernandez, hello. Welcome. You're just in time because I think I'm going to finish up pretty soon. I'm just working on getting these things here, these graphs represented in code. Oh, that's the go-to. Let's put that over there. Yeah, right now you can do this, but it's not actually hooked up to anything. And this is the replacement for this linear routine that, for example, like this robot here is following. No, it just got exploded. Let me find a better one. I think they're all following a zigzag routine at the moment. So you can see this one. Turn left, walk forward, turn right, forward, turn left, and so on. Until it possibly walks into an enemy and explodes. So there you go. That's where we are right now. Do I want to pause that? I could just, I think it auto pauses when I can click out of there anyway. Yes, I'm making some data structures to represent those nodes, and that'll allow them to be saved, and also just when you set them in the factory, which I could just make this, try to make this a much more efficient one. Let's have it walk forward and fire its laser. Oh, it doesn't have a laser, hang on. Just give it, what have we got up there? Double shielding robots, or yeah, I think double laser robots with budget legs would be the thing to use here. And I think I'll just do several different, is 5 too many? We'll find out. I'm going to spawn at just the wrong time here, yeah. Just got instantly wiped out. Is this timing just going to be wrong? Okay, maybe I'll, just to get the timing improved here, I changed it to single laser for a little bit. Or something, let's see, what are we? Oh, I don't want to walk first, I want to shoot first and then walk later. But yeah, I'll be able to make it a lot more sophisticated with the routine when it's I think I could get sneak another laser blast in there before taking a step. And now that I've got these guys here, I can actually I'm gonna get this one I'll keep like that. For the next one I'll put more lasers in. And then give it a walk, and it can have a double laser. There we go. The next one will have double laser. So now this one's, because it'll take longer to build, just leave it a bit longer before that one moves off. And see, that seems to work. Anyway, yes, that does seem to be countering the double shield bots. Yes, it is a bit complicated, but a lot of it is just bad UI. But anyway, thanks for stopping in. Yeah, I think once the UI is improved, it'll seem less complicated. Okay, these guys are going to be unstoppable. Unfortunately, this factory is not going to be around that much longer, so what was the point of it? Okay, so basically, we don't have index yet. So we just want to find the index. Oh. Okay, so I'll find the index of that. And what does that give us back? Where's the documentation for that? That's not useful. Now let's have a quick look for that. C# list, find index. What is the behavior if a node is not found? There's -1 if an item that matches the conditions is not found. Cool. So that's fine. Get -1. I'll just add it instead and print a message. Probably just a log warning. There we go, log warning. And that's going to actually change its unique ID. So I actually won't do that. Won't add the node. That's just going to kind of mean I've programmed something wrong. I'll add the unique ID there. Oh, for some reason it has done that. We'll just do ID. It's the unique ID that it's looking for. And you'll just do that. Interesting, there's not a like a replace. Anyway, let's get that. That should be all that's needed to update it. So that should cover that. I'll just put something here. Go. All right, so there's one thing missing here, which is getting a node. And how do we know what node to get? Yeah, we don't want to do that. We want to actually return a routine node. Or yeah, I'll just do the new ID actually. There we go, add a node and get its unique ID. Just look it up. So then I can have and I think we want like this without the index part. Okay, there we go. So now we can add a node, get the ID back, we can use that ID to look it up, and essentially what we want is for everything in that routine graph editor, which I've closed, and I don't think I have a button to open it. Here it is. Just enable that. Yeah, so for each of these in the UI, they would have like a copy of their node. That routine node would be attached, or the unique index would be attached. And then whenever something is changed, like they moved, it's probably a good one to start with, then it will call update node, the routine. Yeah, so I guess we need to know what routine is represented. So yeah, they wouldn't necessarily need to have the whole routine node. If they just had the unique ID, then they could look up the node just when they need to make a change to it. But no, I think having a copy of that routine node would be quite useful. So I will do that. Because that'll have all of the metadata that they might need. All right, let's have a look. Where am I up to here? I think that pretty much rounds out the data model. This node routine to be stored. Well, I might just, I've got this stuff happening here on start in the routine graph manager when it starts up here. So right now, in addition to what's going on here, I might just try and create a routine. be a node routine. Let's call it new routine equals new node routine. And yep, that's our constructor. So now we have, interesting. So we've got that start node. I don't actually have a way to look up all of the nodes so far, but that's fine. Because I know that the first node is 0. I do have my schedule up. Actually, I should check if I have it up properly on YouTube. I don't remember. I actually should go and have a look because I need to remove the weekend one. So I don't always start exactly on the start time, but it's somewhere around there. But yeah, well, actually, I've gone over time as well. I haven't done too much. Basically, this was already all here last time, and I've just been basically building up a data model to represent it over here. So I've got the individual nodes that'll have all of the stuff they'll need to keep track of what they're connected to and that kind of thing. And then a routine which sort of has a ID. It keeps it will assign unique IDs that are unique within that routine to the nodes. Creates a start node when you create it, and then lets you add new nodes. So you can make a node, it'll give it a unique ID, give it back that ID, and so on. So I was just seeing if I could maybe get that kind of working here. So we should be able to get the start node. By just doing get node 0. And what do I want to do with that? So pretty much what I want to have is when you make a connection. Well, first of all, when you move one of these, I think that'll be the more relevant thing. So we've got a start node here. Which one? It's that one there. We've got that start node up there, which yeah, looks like it's functioning. Plug that in there. So that start node is just a draggable icon at this point, and it's a graph node, but I also want it to be something else. I want it to have a type on there that will hold a routine node, and that way it'll have all the values for reference, and it'll have the unique ID that can be used to look it up. So I guess that's another thing. I'll need to split node routine into its own thing, but anyway, let's make a minor behavior here. And this will be what? Did I already? Where's routine node UI? Call that routine node holder for the moment. Yeah, so I think right now routine node UI I'm only using for to inherit to threshold node UI. So that's got that label text, and attaches that on start. Yeah, I guess this is a place where it can have a, just make it public for now. So now I'll have a routine node, and that means, what does that mean? So we've got a prefab here, instantiating that. All right, cool. So I'm not connecting anything in this code anymore. I am creating a start node and some other nodes. So why don't I use those? So I've gone through and created them. So at that point, I've got that. And I've already done different prefabs for different types. So yeah, here to do add it to new routine. All right. So am I going to get that? So I've already got the start node. I think I might just make another switch like so. And then rather than setting prefab, this will be the start node. So basically just want to say start node dot position I guess I'll just go with pause. So now we've got a start node that's got a position. For these others, I'll have to make one. Oops. So just replace that prefab equals with not that. Okay, so the node type here is going to be, so this is not final code here, but basically these kind of things are going to be what would happen when you say click a button to create a node, or like drag a node out of the tool palette. So we just make a generic one, wouldn't necessarily position it like we're doing all over the place here, but let's see. Case one, we're using the decision node, simple decision. Position is pos. And is that all we need? So we've got the node type. The unique ID will be set when we save it. Setting the position. And that's not like positioning it, it's just that's where we will position it when we display the routine after not displaying it. Okay, we've got some outputs. If it was an action node, the action was a signal. There we go. So it's going to need a signal type, which we don't do anything with. Making something in Godot compared to Unity, so far, it was really nice. Making something in Godot, really nice integration between the code and the developing experience, and none of the delays of making changes, so we'd be able to update. Didn't always work making changes and updating because it depends what state the game was in, but yeah, felt much smoother of an experience. Having said that, though, I haven't really done much in Godot yet, so hard to tell before trying to sort of properly build something in there. But yeah, pretty good so far. Pretty happy with it. Let's set a signal type on that anyway, just because that'll get us closer to something. That says enemy on it, so let's say it's an enemy sensor. Even though yeah, even though that's not what I'll have exactly. Or did I just press? Yeah, I thought so. There's an extra slash on there. Okay. So I'll do new routine dot add node like that. Okay, and the others, they'll need to be be similar to that. So there we got some empty things. Grab that and just repeat it. But we're calling it the same name, and that's bad. So I should be able to just inline this anyway. And then we won't have that issue. Okay, so now I just do this. Because that's just going to be a bit more readable. All right, and these are going to be different. Pause is going to be the same. Anyway, so what's 2? We've got a label node. Let's look at that label. Let's go to position. It doesn't have a signal type, but it will need to have a label ID. And it looks like those are called A, so we'll just call those A. Call that A. That should be fine. Yeah, we don't need that. Right, I can actually group that one. So I suspect the next one after label is goto, and goto also has the same label ID as the node that it goes to. Ooh, it would be useful to have the ID of that. Maybe not. Just thinking about later on. Alright, so we got 4, and that's a threshold node. So we've got a threshold decision, position, and that'll be a signal type. That'll be hit points signal. And that looks like basically it. Is it? Now there's something we're not doing, which is we're not actually getting the node. So that'll actually be returning us a unique ID. Let's give it -1 so that we can tell if it's not worked. So if it was that, then the unique ID is 0 because I've just been assigning that. For the rest of them, it'll just be whatever is returned by add node. So I'll just grab that from each of these. We can get the node from that unique ID. And then yep. Then I can set the set that in the thing that they will all be inheriting. So we've instantiated those. We've got a thing called obj. Yeah, routine node UI is what we're getting. So I just looked up that UI component. And we'll just set that to that node that was just looked up. And needs error checking, but it's all right for the moment. That won't work yet because we don't have routine node UI in all of those prefabs. So there's that. And there are the prefabs. Let's take a look. Yep. Needs one of those. Did that work? Maybe not because that's running. Oh, come on, Unity, what are you doing? Okay, so I believe I've added a routine node UI here, and I will give it that label text. And I'll just make it say like action on that. That'll be an okay placeholder for the moment. So I think ultimately each of these types would have a subclass of routine node UI. Just look up the appropriate one. Okay, it does have a text. Okay, let's say that one's going to be a signal label on there when we update the label. Right, next. Go to node. Give that that. Okay. Go. Label ID on that one. Okay, so that was label. Let's sort it out. Ugh. That text isn't going to change, but that's all right. It'll just be hard-coded at start. And the threshold node that already has label and label text and some other things. So I think that's all the prefabs all set, so they should be able to now do this. And then I just need to make it so that when you drag and drop them, that's being handled by draggable icon, isn't it? That's not the right thing. am I doing with draggable icon here? Checking if we have on and drag here to get some position stuff happening. So it calls child and drag. I could use on and drag. Just on the on here. And drag handler. Just implement that. There, so this is where we basically update the position. So I don't know how I'm going to get a reference to the routine there. I need to call that to somewhere. The other thing is I've got stuff like setting the parent, setting the sibling index, and so on that might affect positioning. Because yeah, they're going to maybe snap back or something like that. So I could also do like sending a signal here, sending a message. This is just for draggable icon in general, isn't it? It's drag ended, but it's just like drag complete. Yeah, that's better because then that happens at the right time. So I'll grab that drag complete name into that. So not on end drag, not end drag handler, but just this. Okay, so it's called by draggable icon. setting it to the current position of this? I guess so. It'll get truncated to just X and Y. I gotta go get some sleep. I feel tired. But I can log, drag complete, message received. And there we go. So the main issue I have here is how to access the routine to set this back into it. But I'll set that up next time. That's interesting. What's that error? Oh, right, yeah, that's just the one that's been coming from the library that I'm using for the graph nodes. Oh, yeah, it updates the text. Did I not set a text properly on the action prefab? Label action. What happens if I set this text to say action? That's how it. Oh, yeah, what happened there? Oh, it's actually treating it like a markup, I guess. That's a hello. Action tag. Don't know. All right, so giving those things like that. Greater than, less than is not a good way to do that. I just wanted to make these say something that's not reasonable, so that it's easy to tell if they still have the default value. Okay, and that one's actually already got hit points written there, but it's not updating it, I guess. Or maybe it is when I run it. We'll see. Alright, so yeah, now they say action on them. Oh yeah, yeah. Drag complete, message received. And that's basically all I'm doing. Alright, well, I'm tired. I'm gonna go. I made a bit of progress with that one. To do a little bit of getting back into the headspace of what I was doing. So I won't have a stream on the weekend as I'll be camping, but I will be back on Monday night, which might be earlier on Monday in some places in the world. Thank you, Jaro Matthias. I will have a good night. Of sleep, hopefully. Always crossing my fingers I don't get woken up. And yeah, so next time I should be able to get this stuff hooked up properly so that we end up with the routine actually being saved as the graph gets built up here. And then it'll be ready for robots to follow. So cool. Thank you so much for watching. I've been David from PhotoPixel, and I still will be next time, I expect.